finally time for Ron and Jane to make their way to the WNA. And I think shenanigans are about to ensue. You know, when it comes to the latest Ninjala episode, I wasn't really sure if I really enjoyed the episode or not. It wasn't really what I was expecting them to do with the episode. And because of that, I ended up rewatching the episode right before recording our little discussion video, because I needed to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I'm glad I rewatched the episode, because while I still think there are a few things that I didn't really like in this episode, overall I do think the episode kind of establishes some decency with a lot of the characters, and of course Ron and Jane, and kind of adds a little bit to the story. But I'm kind of disappointed that they missed out on a few things. But obviously today, we're going to be talking about that as we always do. So hello ladies and gentlemen and all the core gamers out there. CAJ Man 777 here, and it's time to talk about Ninjala Anime episode 10, where they added Ron and Jane to the WNA Academy. As per usual, we're going to go right into this. We're going to be talking about the story overview, lore implications, and some things I liked and obviously did not dislike about this episode. So if you guys are enjoying this kind of content, just do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button, and we can get started right away, as I'm going to take a massive sip of my coffee. So, the episode starts off immediately with the introduction of Ron and Jane right in class, and the first thing that ends up happening is Burton and Berecca immediately shocked. We cut immediately to them as Bruce, the instructor, says, "Hey, here's your new classmates, Ron and Jane." And the immediate reaction, of course, of Burton and Berecca is, "Ron? Oh boy." And now?
というわけで、補欠で今日からこのクラスに入るロンとジェーンだ。
ロン?
Immediately starting with this, huh? Oh boy! Oh, look at him!
問題はなさそうか。
当然でしょ。アカデミーのデータ改ざんなんて楽勝よ。
Jane hacked her way in. And we learn how Ron and Jane got into the academy right away. You see Jane actually on a laptop that she brought into the academy because she's kind of a tech genius. And basically what they say is that they hacked their way into the academy as students. So Jane faked data for Ron and Jane, and they made their way into the academy that way, which is why it answers a question of Berecca later. Why would they add students basically in the middle of a semester for the WNA Academy? And that's because Ron and Jane hacked their way in, so they should have absolutely nothing to worry about. Of course, Burton and Berecca don't know this, and we keep cutting to shots of them kind of overlooking over their shoulder, or looking at them when they're constantly shocked kind of thing, because they still can't believe Ron and Jane are there. And then Cappe and Van, of course, go up to greet Ron and Jane, and there is the ever so funny scene with Van and Cappe's rivalry that kind of, I think, honestly, their little "I'm better than you" kind of thing, I think that kind of gets overused quite a bit in this episode, and didn't make me too happy because it was overused. They used it like 3 times in the span of like 10 minutes, and that really kind of bugged me. Doing it once or twice in the episode's fine, but you gotta space that out, if you know what I'm saying. But either way, Cappe and Van introduce themselves to Ron and Jane is super, super sweet about it. We'll talk about how Jane goes about things in the episode a little bit later.
Yeah, Sheenie. Oira Cappe. よろしくね。オイラ先輩だからいろいろ教えてあげるよ。なんでも聞いて。お前が教えられることなんてない。
Oh, here we go.
なんも知らないんだからさ。なんだと？じゃあ知ってるか？寮の屋根のどこにツバメの巣があるか。
And then we get to them out in the training grounds, of course, using Ninja Gum again. And Ron knows what the Ninja Gum is already, as you can probably tell. Jane also knows what it is. And, of course, Van and Cappe show Ron and Jane how to use the Ninja Gum and blow up their own weapons. Van blows up a skate hammer, and Cappe blows up an Ippon katana. But what's really funny, when Ron and Jane try to do it for the first time Jane does it, she gets a wiggly worm katana. When Ron does it, he gets a stupidly overly heavy, overly plump Ippon katana. And it's actually really funny because if you have to think about, you could turn the ninja gum into any weapon, but having the strength to blow the bubble to turn it into that weapon is also kind of difficult to do based on the lore of Ninjala. You can't just do it first try until you get, you know, good practice at it.
オイラの方が1秒早かった。俺本当は10秒早かったぜ。オイラ1時間早かったけどな、実は。
This is the entire gimmick between Van and Cafe, and it's gonna drive me nuts.
いい加減にしろ。
うわ、何これ。
あれ？
初めてだからしょうがないよ。まあまあ、すぐに慣れるぜ。見るのとやるのは違うわね。先生、私今日はパス。
Ron got it.
準備ができたようだな。
So obviously Jane goes in and she tries again, and she makes some form of candy cane stick. I think it's meant to be a scrap saber or a Popeye. I don't even know what it is. I think it's a weird squiggly line drawing. That is the way I put it right away. And Jane's just like, all right, I'm sitting out. I'm done. I can't do it. And so with Ron blowing up his skate hammer, obviously Bruce says, oh, it looks like you're ready to do some battle. And then he goes to do some Ninjala battles right against Van. And at first, Ron is kind of shocked at Van's speed and agility because there's a couple things that Ron is not used to. One, the fact that Van is also a ninja kid. That obviously comes back around a little bit later in the episode. But the other thing is that he is not used to his kid form body. He's not used to having the little stubbier arms and legs. And he even says he's not used to having the stubby arms and legs as Van walks up to him and he goes, yeah, nice dodge, man. That was a good dodge. And I was laughing at this because it's like, well, if they're battling each other, why is Van walking up to him and going, nice dodge, man? Dude, just hit him, just e-pone him. Smack Ron with the hammer immediately. But, of course, Van goes for an attack, kind of gives it away. Ron finally jumps away. Now, Ron has decent ninja training already, but again, being not used to the kid form, he eventually kind of like amps himself up. He starts getting used to how his body is moving as a kid because he hasn't been a kid very long. And he puts Van immediately into the wall. The fact that he's standing right next to him when he walks up to him and says that's really funny to me. How long have they been? They haven't been in their bodies that long. Like the kid body that long. Man, Ron's good. So they put Kappa against Ron. Same thing happens. Immediate, they cut to Epone. And you got just Jane chilling in the background. And Jane goes, well, that's no shock. And they got Van and Kappa kind of talking to them. Not bad, you're new. I'll give you that one kind of thing. But what's interesting is kind of like the side arc we get with this story. Because up at the top, you have Master Genryusai watching their little training session. And there's a side arc for Van in this story that I honestly didn't expect. Do I think it was necessarily needed? Maybe. We kind of already knew why Van was in the academy and stuff like that. And I just don't know if I agree with Van having a side story when we really wanted this episode to be focusing on Ron and Jane, but that's besides the point in the episode. So obviously we then cut into a scene where they're all taking a little bit of a test. Ron and Jane, Burton kind of looking again over his shoulder at Ron. They then just cut to the lunch scene. So they cut the lunch scene with Van and Kappa, and this is actually kind of cute. This is a cute and really funny scene. Van and Kappa are arguing over the fact that, oh, I ate way more than you did. And then they cut over to Ron, and Ron just takes this entire sub and just goes, in one bite. And Van and Kappa are just sitting there, shocked. They're like, taking a test.
今日もオイラの方が食ってるな。いや、俺の方が食ってる。
Yep, that's my reaction.
補欠に負けた。
And this kind of goes into how Van feels. He kind of feels like he's not good enough as a ninja right now because he's still going through training. But you have to realize that he is still one of the youngest kids in the cast. I believe Van's canonical age, if I'm not mistaken, is like 10 or 11. So, and Kappe's like 9, I think. So the canonical ages of the kid characters that are actually kids, it is very young. They are very young, but obviously they have a lot of special powers. But, then we cut over to a scene where Van, again, is doubting himself, and we get kind of like this halfway, scene where he's doubting himself. He's like, I can't win on the battlefield, I can't win in the cafeteria, and because he's basically jealous that he lost to Ron. But obviously they don't know Ron is an adult, and that's, there's a different story, with that. So Van kind of goes, he kind of like, oh man, Ron's really something. But what I think is really cool is that then Van suddenly gets a random delivery. And this delivery just happens to be from his mom, which we learn a little bit later in the episode, which I think is cute. Keeping an establishment and a delivery from Van's mom sending Van a package in the academy is really sweet, because obviously Van's dad is recovering from the incident when Van was asked to join into the academy. So I think that was really kind of cute, and they do some really good stuff with it. Then we cut over to Burton and Berecca, and this is where we have the conversation of, oh, is this definitely the same Ron? And Burton is literally discussing to Berecca, it's gotta be that Ron, right? There's no way it can't be that Ron.
あいつロンだよな。
どうかな。
だっていきなりあの戦闘能力だよ。雰囲気もそれっぽいしさ。
ちょっと待って。あれがロンだとしたら、私たちと同じように忍者ガムを食べたってこと？
多分ね。でも何のためだ？わざわざ子供に姿を変えて。あ、消しに来たのか？僕たちを。
確かにあの姿なら近づきやすいかもしれないけど。
勘弁してくれよ。あれ、子供になったってことは戻り方も知ってるんじゃ。
知ってるとしても教えてくれると思う
？Because currently there's no way to turn back that they don't know. And again, Burton and Berecca don't know that the Oniwabashu have been after Ron.
ロンと顔見知りっぽかったわね。まさか彼女もお庭番衆？
まあたまたま補欠仲間ってこともあるか。待てよ。だいたい補欠ってなんだよ。
そうよね。このタイミングで補欠入学ってなんか変よね。ああ、もうわかんない。
And they talk about how tough his first battle is. He's got like the same kind of demeanor. And Berecca's wondering if it is the same Ron, that means he ate the ninja gum just like we did. Right. Why? Where did he get it? We don't really learn. So kind of Burton and Berecca assume that Ron intentionally took a kid form because of the Oniwabashu to basically hunt down Burton and Berecca for the rest of the episode. Or for the rest of the series, which I'm telling you right now will probably not be the case. Because unbeknownst to Burton and Berecca, Ron and Jane, obviously, they have their own reasons of being hunted down by the Oniwabashu. Obviously, Jane has sensitive data on the total, on the whole reason Alan and the Oniwabashu are so aggressive. And Ron obviously knows a little bit too much information as well. So that's why the Oniwabashu have been after him, because Ron knows of the ninja gum. But what doesn't make sense to me is something that happens later in the episode, which I will get to when Burton is talking to Ron on the rooftop. But we go through the episode from there, and we get Van on the phone with his mom. And this is a cute scene. This is like part of the side story that's going on in this episode, where Van is calling his mom, and he's kind of actually lying to his mom a little bit. He says, oh, we got some new kids today, and I showed him the ropes, when it is, in fact, not the case. But Van is thanking his mom for all the stuff she sent him, which I think is really cute. And then we get Van actually, like, just in anger, After he asks how his dad's doing, and his mom says his dad's doing better and better each day, Van wants to keep up his training, and he gets really angry with this, and he starts just doing rapid-fire push-ups because he's kind of in self-doubt this entire episode.
いろいろ入れてくれてありがとう。
That's still sweet.
よかったらお友達と一緒に遊んで。どうなの？元気にしているの？元気だよ。今日の訓練も絶好調だったよ。補欠の生徒が来たんだけどさ、俺がいろいろ教えてやったんだ。すごいじゃない。頑張ってるのね。だから心配しないで。父さんは大丈夫なの？順調に回復しているわ。こっちは心配しなくて大丈夫だから。母さん、俺絶対父さんみたいな忍者になるから。体壊さないようにね。わかった。じゃあまたね。
Man, 4 cameras on that phone? Woo! And then we get the big talk with Genryusai. And Genryusai basically says you need to concentrate a little bit more. And Genryusai also saying that Van's dad is recovering is the truth. And Genryusai will keep Van updated on his dad's condition. Because obviously, Van and his dad probably have a very close relationship that we obviously saw when we had Van's initial episode. So Genryusai asks Van why the heck is he so worked up. And obviously that's because Van just wants to be stronger. And Genryusai immediately sees through this and he goes, you didn't like losing to Ron, did you? And Van goes, yeah. So Genryusai kind of explains, look at their breathing and concentrate a little bit more and you'll be able to see the moment their muscles move kind of thing. Kind of like how you would, like, you know, in other animes, like the anime trope. Oh man, I can see his muscles move, I can predict his every move. Akaza.
ところで、ずいぶん張り切っておったようじゃが。
The wise man himself.
パワーが欲しいんです。
はあ、補欠に負けて悔しいのか。
補欠なのにあんなに強いなんて。
ああいうものは昨日今日で身につくものではない。焦らずじっくりトレーニングすることじゃ。
はい、ありがとうございました。
バーンにはバーンの良いところがある。
本当に？
訓練を見ておったが、お主の俊敏さと反射神経はなかなか良かったぞ。
俺のこと見ててくれたんですね。
神経を研ぎ澄ますのじゃ。
Every time he opens his eyes.
息遣いよ、気配を感じ取るのじゃよ。
That's really what we get with Van, and then Van's arc kind of culminates in the very next scene. But what I like now is we got a little bit of Ron, we got a little bit of Burton and Berecca, and we got some side story with Van. But now we get a really cute scene with Lucy, Emma, and Jane. And this is really neat because Jane kind of wants to walk up and introduce herself. She has, as Berecca puts it, an unnatural smile about it, but she walks up to Emma and Lucy and asks Emma what she's listening to. And Jane is like, oh, you're listening to hip-hop, that's cool. Jane says she listens to hard rock, as obviously we know Beat Jungle is like her clothing brand in the game, which is really cool. So, I think it's really neat that kind of Jane's trying to integrate herself and get along. She's kind of having a fun time. All the while, Lucy's just licking an ice cream cone in the scene. But Emma and Lucy sitting next to each other, I just want to point that out, so I think that's really neat. So Jane gets a cute little introduction scene, more so actually trying to introduce herself to the actual kid characters, and I think it's really neat.
Hi. Hi. 何聞いてるの？ヒップホップだよ。へえ、いいじゃない。私、ハードロックが好きなの。ロックは？あんまり。本当？じゃあ今度聞かせてあげる。体を揺さぶる超絶技巧のドラム。
Okay, that's kind of cute.
叫び。最高よ。
Jane trying to blend in. I don't blame her. Smug Jane. Smug Jane. No, Smug Jane.
慣れ合いは感心しないな。
だってどうするのこの先。いざという時のために仲良くしておくに越したことないんじゃない？
所詮は子供だ。巻き込むのは得策じゃない。
You can tell she's kind of nervous because she doesn't want to give away anything either about that, hey, I'm actually an adult, kind of in kid form. And it leaves Emma and Lucy kind of surprised. And Ron asks, As Jane walks out the door, Ron asks, why you're trying to have a relationship with these kids. And Jane, very honestly, and this is a very true statement, says to Ron, if things go bad, it wouldn't be bad to have friends to back us up. So that's the main reason Jane is trying to introduce herself, as Ron is kind of staying, you know, he's kind of a loner, he's kind of out there. But Ron, to reply to Jane, says, I don't want to get the kids involved because this could be a much bigger thing than they are. Unfortunately, you know, Ron doesn't realize, hey, they're all ninja kind of thing. So, Jane kind of has a good point here, and I love the way Jane kind of nudges Ron in the right direction to kind of realize, hey, even though you don't want to get them involved, we might need them, and they still have the same power of shinobi as we do. So I think that's a really nice scene and a very good interaction between Ron and Jane that we have as we go forward. And then we cut through the flashback of how Ron and Jane escaped the explosion. Basically, they jumped down a giant laundry chute. They ate ninja gum and jumped down a giant laundry chute, and by the time they reached the bottom of the laundry chute, they were already kids. Oh, we are going to get to see it.
Come here.
何よこれ。
That was quick.
天井高いわ。
Where did Ron, A, get the ninja gum to do this? Why did Ron have the ninja gum on him? And why suddenly a change of heart in a way to use the ninja gum? Because if he knew he had it for a long time, why didn't he use it earlier to try and start sneaking once the Oniwan Banshu kind of found out about him? We don't know. We don't know, and it does not get explained. We only see how they actually survived, which I really don't like. I really, if there's one thing I really don't like about this episode, it's that scene right there. I loved seeing the fact that, hey, this is how they got away from it, but why does Ron have the ninja gum? Why didn't he use it earlier? These are the questions that we don't get answered at all. I'm assuming Ron had the ninja gum because he maybe had some from the Oniwan Banshu's prototypes, because he worked for the Oniwan Banshu for a time, or he took some of the prototypes from Burton and Berecca. But I don't know. It doesn't get explained, and the big question really is, why does Ron have ninja gum to begin with? Was he given it by the Oniwan Banshu before they started attacking him? What did he take it to Burton and Berecca, give him some? We don't know, and I wish it got explained a bit more, because that would change a whole dynamic in the story later down the line. But again, of course, Ron is such a loner character, they want to try and keep him as mysterious as possible. And we cut to the next day where Jane goes up and talks to Burton and Berecca, and Jane is just having a lovely time. And again, that unnatural smile, and Burton and Berecca are super, like, the look on their face is actually like, it's calm, because they see Jane is not there to try and do anything to them. So Berecca also kind of playing along. And then Burton gets a concerned look when Jane walks away, because Berecca just goes, yeah, something's definitely off with her. It's that unnatural smile.
ここの食事美味しそうね。うん、結構いけるわよ。じゃあね。じゃあね。やっぱり怪しいわね。え？
Then we cut over to a scene with Van messing with the little yo-yo, and this is actually kind of cute, because this is like, again, the third or fourth time in this episode that Van and Kappei fight over a little yo-yo, and Jane interacts with Van and Kappei in this scene as well, and Jane absolutely shows them how to smoke the yo-yo. Jane doing yo-yo tricks, and again, if you guys don't know, in the official art of Ninjala, Jane is often depicted using a yo-yo weapon. Just a standard yo-yo, not like an extreme motor, not like anything like that. She's often depicted using just a ninja yo-yo, and this is the scene that kind of brings that up, because Jane shows Van and Kappei in a little bit of a very lighthearted scene, with Jane having Van and Kappei call her Miss Jane, which I think is really funny, and they get really all excited, and Jane shows her, like, the cool stuff that you can do with the yo-yo.
お、ヨーヨーね。懐かしい。昔よく遊んだな。 楽しい久しぶり
I think she's definitely a little off model in that scene, but it's the way it's framed.
それどうやるの教えてへえできるようになりたいなりたいどのくらいこのくらい俺はもっとこのくらいおいらはもっともっとアカデミーくらい俺はイーグルシティコメリカ宇宙はいはいわかったじゃあ特別に教えてあげるやだありがとう補欠さん補欠あごめん私のことは姉さんと呼ぶように姉さんそこ並んではい姉さん姿勢を正すはいじゃあ一から教えてあげるよっしゃーちょろ
Swung Jane! There it is! But then we get to, I think, the most interesting scene in the episode, where we get to Ron, you know, kind of in a talking scenario. Burton's kind of up doing quoting Edison again in a really funny scene when he sees Ron walk off in the distance. And this is the scene I think that really bugged me in this episode the most, because basically Burton follows him up to the roof, and Ron, as a loner character, should already know that Burton and Berecca are kids. And this is really what bothers me about the scene, because when Burton goes to confront Ron on the roof, the first thing Burton asks is, Ron, that's really you, isn't it? And Ron goes, I introduced myself this morning. What is going on here?
朝7時に起き、夜11時に寝れば1日16時間は
Oh, come on.
「用心するに越したことはないけど」
So weird seeing Burton without the jacket.
ロン君はロンなのか
今朝そう名乗ったはずだが
そうじゃなくて
人の後をつけるのが趣味なのか
His mouth wasn't moving.
そろそろ消灯のはずだけどここに何しに来たんだい
外の空気を吸いたかっただけだ
But what really bothers me here is that Ron should already know from a previous episode that Burton and Berecca are kids. As he did see them as kids before he got attacked by the Oniwan Banshu, and then he reported back to Alan regarding this situation. So the fact that he does not recognize Burton and Berecca, or is keeping the fact that he knows who they are a secret, is really bugging me, because they know. Burton and Berecca have this really big gut feeling that that is the Ron, but Ron is such a loner character that he just can't come out and say it, and I don't like that decision. The reason I don't like that decision is because they're trying to build up. I understand they're trying to build up maybe a team up between Burton, Berecca, Ron, and Jane against the Oniwan Banshu in regards to the plan with Genryusai. I'm sorry, they're all teaming up with Genryusai for the plan to take down the Oniwan Banshu and purge the scourge that is Alan. But I don't know why Ron just can't come out and explain, yeah, I know who you are, kind of thing. I feel like it would have made this scene a little bit easier to do. And Burton gets really nervous that Ron is then, as Ron walks up to him, he's really nervous that Ron's going to finish him off. But Ron, he has no intention to do that right now. He has his mind probably set on the Oniwan Banshu and what the heck he's going to do now that he's a kid. Because the only person who probably knows how to turn them back is Burton, which might be a reason why he's leaving them alive. So then we get into the final scene of the episode, which is Burton and Berecca again, and they're outside the next day doing some little Ninjala battles. They're all blowing up Ninja Gum, and Burton again has something on his mind. Everyone is blowing up their their weapons, and Jane blows up a yo-yo, as we established that she's a yo-yo user. So she's like, she loves the yo-yo kind of thing, and so she turns it into a big yo-yo. And again, it's because she has a little childhood fondness with the yo-yo that she turns her ninja gum into a yo-yo, which I think is really cool. If you have like a fondness of something as a kid and you know you can turn it into a weapon, that's what the ninja gum can do. And I think that's a neat concept, that you could basically turn the ninja gum pretty much into any like physical handheld weapon that you want, besides I think like a rifle or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, you could turn it into a yo-yo, you could turn it into like a Pez dispenser, you could do stuff like that, and I think that's neat. And then Van pulls out the trick ball because you got strength of his own, and now we finally have everybody, with the exception of a few characters, using their canonical weapons. Cafe blows up the drill. The only characters who are not using their canonical weapons, I think, are Burton right now and Ron. Actually, Ron technically uses a skate hammer or extreme motor that he's picked her with, and Burton often gets depicted with the sound hammer, which we actually haven't seen yet, and Lucy's still using a katana instead of the scrap saber. And we get a cute little interaction between Lucy and Emma here. Jane messes with the yo-yo and absolutely destroys Cafe. And Berecca goes to fight Burton, and Burton is just like, oh, we're fighting now? So Berecca asks Burton, yeah, what the heck's wrong? And Berecca goes, and Berecca basically goes, all right, something's definitely up, because, again, we established that he's not really a good fighter, but he seems to be, he's very analytical. He likes to think things through and try to figure out things before he gets this confidence boost. And I hope we get to see that more as we go through the other episode. And then we get the fight between Ron and Van, where Van actually finally wins the fight, which, of course, it would, because we established Van's arc in this episode. Full-on 8-player brawl?
姉さんでも容赦しないぜ。いいわよ。さすが姉さん。ああ。やっぱり何かあったでしょ。
僕はいつも通りだよ。
そうかしら。
かの偉大なエジソンは言った。成功できる人とは思い通りにいかないのは当たり前と。も
らった。
やれやれ。
またこいつか。さっさと終わらせるか。
神経を研ぎ澄ます。
They kind of have like a Van arc going on with Ron and Jane's episode, which I didn't think they were gonna do.
Ara, 子供相手に油断した？
なるほど。子供でも忍者ということか。
ねえ、仲良くなるに越したことないでしょ。
Because he's such a loner.
負けるとこういう感じね。
That's pretty much the end of the episode. Besides the last scene, where in the next episode, I guess they're headed to like survival camp or something, because they take a helicopter off and the episode kind of ends there. And honestly, I think this episode it wasn't my favorite. And that, as I said, that basically breaks down the episode, and it wasn't my favorite episode. And I think the reason this wasn't my favorite episode is because I think it took a little too much time away from Ron and Jane. I thought, and this is my fault for maybe overthinking my expectations for this episode, but I thought the episode was mainly going to focus around Ron, Jane, Burton, and Berecca. It was nice to see Jane's interactions with all the characters, don't get me wrong. Van's side story was kind of out of the blue and unexpected for this episode. I'm not sure why we needed to do that. That was the Van's side story, albeit it was not necessarily needed. I think it was a little breath of fresh air for what pretty much the rest of the serious tone of the episode kind of was. But I wish in this episode we would have gotten more of Ron and Jane, because that really kind of took away my immersion from the episode a little bit, because it's like, okay, we're going to introduce Ron and Jane as kids. Maybe we'll learn some information, and then we get, like, nothing to minimal information about what the heck happened with Ron and Jane. I don't know. Definitely not my favorite episode of the Ninjala anime. It wasn't bad, though. Yeah, no, again, not a bad episode, not my favorite episode. And I'm very interested to see what they'll do next episode because they're not even in the academy at all. So it's going to be like, is this ninja survival training kind of thing? So I wonder if they're going to have to work together in teams kind of thing and make it to like a certain point, or it'll be a race between two teams and they have to make it to a certain point. So we're going to get to see personalities potentially flare up, stories potentially get driven. I'm interested to see how the next episode will turn out, but I hope you guys, of course, enjoyed this episode breakdown of the Ninjala anime. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode down in the comment section below. And you guys already know what to do if you guys have been around here for a long time. I'm just going to also ask you guys to like and subscribe so we can get this channel to 5,000 subs by the end of the year. We have, I think there's more than 2 Ninjala anime episodes left. I initially thought we were only going to get 12, but we might be getting more. Apparently this is a weekly anime that airs in Japan. So, there might be way more than 12 episodes that we're going to be discussing and going over. So I'm excited to see the continued story of Ninjala, and like I said, I hope you all enjoyed it. But of course, until then, this is CAJ Man 777 signing off. Stay safe, everybody.